Welcome to the Landscaping Podcast. My name is Joel Barnett and I am your host. And today's episode, I'm talking with Mark Ryan from InStyle Paving. And this is absolutely one of my favorite episodes that I've done throughout the 72 episodes since starting the podcast. So hopefully other people who enjoy it as much as I did. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. I've just listened back to it while editing it. And yeah, I was just, it's probably not edited all that well because I was just back enthralled listening to it again. So Mark's it's done landscaping, but he's had niched down into paving. So he preferred doing that and was making good money doing that rather than doing the whole kit and caboodle. So that's what he mainly does now. So we talk about the reason why he niched down. So you're not carrying around a Bunnings tool shop on the back of you to be able to do everything that a landscaper does, as well as the importance of communication between yourself and the client, or if you're a subcontractor, yourself and the main contractor you're working under. And he also talks about the amount of staff there at one point and why he doesn't have that many now. And he's also starting up a business in the process of it called Grow Men's Coaching. So he's looking to help out men in life, basically. So this episode kind of split up unintentionally into two halves. So the first half is about landscaping, and then the second half is basically about life and helping people. So there'll be a heap of nuggets of information and advice that people will be able to take away from this episode. And there'll be, I reckon a lot of people will relate to a heap of different things that Mark talks about in this episode. And he's got some good resources to follow up on as well for more learnings if you're liking what he talks about. So I'm going to link both his businesses in the description if you're wanting to follow along with his paving journey, as well as the Grow Men's Coaching. And he also had a great chat with Clint from the Full Landscape, who I had on a while ago. So that was an episode he did about a year ago. And there's some similar things to talk about in this episode, but Clint and Mark know each other better, being both from Adelaide, so there'll be different things that I talk about in there. So I'll link that as well because it was a good listen. And that's where I first heard of Mark. So really good to chat to, and hopefully you enjoy the episode as much as I did with Mark Ryan. Mark, thank you very much for joining us on the Landscaping Podcast. My first question for you is, how did you start in the industry?
Okay, so I was about 21, and I answered an ad in a paper. In the end, I was gyprocking, and I just had enough of that one day. And rang a fella out the paper. I lived the closest out of all the applicants to him, apparently. So that's how I got the job. There was no real way about it. It was just that. And Matt, we've become good mates actually over the years. So he was my first job, and I don't think there was a reason why I got into land, picked it, but I guess there was something there that always drew me to be outdoors. Something I wanted from it, I guess, but I wasn't sure what I was getting in applying for it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So that was it. Just to add in the paper, and he was fun. Work was enjoyable with him and the guys and girl that he had on site there. It made for a good day at work and after work, and was always fun.
So what sort of work did he do?
So that was paving on sand, so the old sand lay. I say old these days, haven't done it for a while. And just, lawn irrigation. So like a simplified version of it all. So simple garden, simple lawn, simple paving. It was a good way to learn now I look back at it. So it was a really good way to get into it with him. And so then I ended up leaving him after a bit because myself and the girlfriend at the time, now the wife, we went up the East Coast for a couple of months traveling, and I said, when I come back, I'll start a business, not really knowing a hell of a lot about it. And I did. So that was it. And that's how sort of this InStyle started, from there. Good name, your business, by the way, as well. Great name it was.
So when did you start with it?
Oh, I want to say it about 8 years. I reckon you were around when I was looking. When I was on the computer trying to work out, because I think I had to be paving and landscaping because you had gardens, and I reckon there was there's a few out. There's one in Perth, I think, and there's actually more than you think. Like licenses, all sorts. So. Yeah,
I didn't choose it because I was an employee for the business first. So
you inherited it?
Yeah, took it over from my boss.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
I've
good.
always been a bit worried that the magazine might come after us, wanting to have to close our business down because they've stolen their name.
Yeah, sure you'd be right.
But yeah, there's a lot. There's like InStyle in just Geelong. There's like InStyle blinds and InStyle stainless and a bit of everything.
Yeah, yeah.
All stylish.
I honestly, I was like, oh, I don't think I really like it. I said it out loud, when you were trying to work out a name, and I said it out loud, and the wife said, oh, that's a really good one. Like, compared to some of the others I was coming out, I was like, oh, and I just, oh, she likes it. Guess I'll go with it. It's just always grown on me from there.
Yeah, and I assume you're the same as me. You call up, you and say it's Mark from InStyle. Like
Yeah.
you don't say the full name.
No, just InStyle, and it works itself from there pretty well.
That's it. So how long were you at that place before you went traveling?
With Matt, only like a year and a half, and big head. I thought, oh well, I know it all now. I didn't, but I don't know. Throw it in the deep end, really. It was so. But what worked really well when we were driving back from the East Coast, as soon as we hit South Australia, I bought a newspaper, and the company that Matt was subbing to at the time were looking for pavers. So I rang up Matt and said, well, can I be one of them? And he spoke to the boss. Well, he spoke to, that company. And yeah, so like within 2 days of coming back, I was like, okay, we had a job. So that was really good. And, I guess that was the other side of town. And I guess South Australia is, it's over 20-minute drive. It seems a bit far away. I wanted to get a bit closer, and I found another mob on the other side of town that Matt had also, we'd connected with through that year and a half of time. And they were amazing. I ended up pretty well being an employee, but a contractor to them. So they were really good. And I think that's where I really honed in a lot of skills, more so at that point. And when I was working with Matt, you've always got someone around you to tell you what to do if you're not quite sure. And then I bumbled around a little bit with this other mob, and then got over here. I was like, okay, we're doing lots of production. They were doing a lot of Hickenbotham work. So just lots of houses, lots of show display homes. I was like, okay, we got to learn quick now, and you teach yourself on the go, and that was good, and that was also good fun times. You're working with your friends, early days where your mates have come on board, and it's all good fun at that point.
So was that doing flexible paving as well?
Flexible paving.
Is that not what you call it?
What's flexible paving? I like it to stay solid. I like it to stay where it is. I don't want it to move.
Yes, paving on sand is.
Yeah. So rubble, sand.
Yeah.
Pave block. Yeah, that's all it was. That was 100%. That's all that was for that. So 300 by 300 charcoal pavers around the house, driveway, 900 perimeters. Everything lands on a half. It's really good. Actually, look back now, you can make good money. Now knowing what I know now, that's dream paving. If you get one of those little al frescos, you can go really quick. So we worked there for ages, and but winter was always quiet with that builder or that mob. It would always slow down, and we had just bought a house, I think, at that point. And I said to Mick and Julie, like, I'm going to go look for a few jobs to tide me over some weeks here and some time there. And that's when I landed on a pool coping company, and his name was Mark, and they're not around anymore, but he opened my eyes up to, okay, swimming pools, here we go, this is new. And it was like this niche market. No one wanted to tell you how to do it. Though I think they were like, oh, that's good money. We don't want to share our secrets here. And I found it was, but Mark, he got me in there. He got me in a couple of pools. Again, it was like next day. Oh, I don't know how much work I got, don't know how much work. And next day, phone rings. I got one for you. All right, well, let's make it work. And the money he was to, as soon as you put a swimming pool in it, the money was just like, it was crazy, the difference. How you could lay a driveway at, say, $18 a square metre, and all of a sudden you're paving around a pool for 45. I was dumbfounded, and people were paying it. So, and again, at this point in my life, just buying a house, we had no family or anything, or no kids. So you're still enjoying all the money you come. So like that was a huge pay increase for me at that point. But it turns out you got to pay tax on all this and GST, and they're two different things. I worked that out. I worked that out the hard way. So, but yeah, so then we got into the pool game, and I think that's just then been bouncing ball from there to get where I am. But it feels like now I've done a full 18-year circle just to be back working by myself. Yeah. I've got Daniel's a contractor to me now. He worked with me for a few years. We then I shut my business down. We went and worked for a pool company and sort of put a landscape side to their pool company, but that didn't work out. I've now gone back out of my own, and Daniel's contracting to me, doing a few of his own things, and we're just trying to make it happy. But I've just found this. I've skipped quite a few years now. I have 5 kids, and from no kids. So my happy place now is to be here at home and with them. And so yeah, just to work by myself to find that niche market of being around the pools now. I think in a specific target is what I've really honed in on this year, is to not try and be the landscaper that we think of that does stuffed up in the first comment with what I was doing today with lawn, but to do lawn, plants, irrigation, lighting, timber decking, paving, concreting, mate, you're carrying Bunnings tool section on the back of your car, and you forget something. Your days, like, it's not stuff, but you have a lot of 85% jobs finished throughout those processes, I find, and that niggles at me. That's annoying. So I've honed it in and said, copings, tilings around pools. So, and we do it a lot now. It's screed and tile.
Yeah.
Just outdoor tilers really, or wet lay, the wet lay method. And I find, that 20 to 30 square meters around a pool with the coping. And I now just contract got a couple of other landscapers that we kind of see eye to eye. We've got similar values, still get to touch some really good quality work, but I'm not quoting it. I'm just rocking up and doing it.
Yeah, that's awesome when you can get to that stage.
I've found a happy place for now. Whether we talk in a year's time and it's completely changed, who knows? But for now, it's working quite well. So,
yeah, that's awesome. That there's a lot of people I speak to do the full range of landscaping, so there's not many that actually niche down like you've done. And I often talk to people about how having 3 staff is a good number, is the most profitable, but there's nothing more profitable than one person working by themselves.
I know what I'm bringing home every day, and I know what I'll make if I go to work, if I got to, you just know, like, and you don't really have that downtime. And I can actually almost scale it back to a 3-day work week, 4-day work week if I wanted, by forecasting what my income will be for the week and knowing to schedule myself out to understand what my work's, and even with the weather now as well, to be able to forecast it. Like, I do got to work in with these landscapers to a degree, but I guess that's where communication comes into it. And I spoke to one of them, so Landscape Technique, she spoke to Josh a while back at the start of the year, I think, and he's like, we're just inundated. Like they do some brilliant work. That's why they get so much of it. And just if we can help out, and yeah, love to be around some of those projects, And that was it. There was an email sent sort of stating a couple of jobs, rough square meters, plans attached. This one at this date, this one at this date, this one at this date, just staggered through the year on what they've potentially got. And that was, we struck up a meterly rate on a few things, and it was as simple as that. So now we just keep, how's your job tracking? How are we looking? Yep, next week, 2 weeks, whatever it be. So that's it. He's got a really good, I don't know how he does it. He's got a lot of people. But he's, in terms of the communication, everything I get back from that is fantastic. And I'll do that probably with another pool builder. I do it, and another couple of landscapers as well. So, and that keeps my dance card real full.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I say, it's working at the moment. But communication and just scheduling it out is what I was shit at communicating. Still probably am, but communicate. I would just get so many. We just want to hear. We just want to know. But I'm a people pleaser, so I wouldn't want to tell people, I can't make it tomorrow. And everyone always just says they just want to hear. Yeah. And I think, I'm better. I can't upset them. So,
they find out eventually.
Yeah, they do, and then they're unhappy. So, yeah, people communication is a big one that I've taken upon myself to work on as once I restarted the business again. That was probably one of the number one priorities. That was where I lagged, and communication with clients, family, whatever, just everywhere. Stop hiding from it and own it, and that's really changed the direction. So
I reckon, that's something I and I reckon a lot of people would need to work on. It's hard when you get busy to keep on top of the basic things like that, but that should be your priority. So you should maybe need to set yourself a plan for a certain hour of the day to do all the communicating that you need to do.
Yep, 100%. Well, and that's now, because sometimes we drive over 20 minutes, don't get me wrong, but my car time is we'll dedicate, okay, end of the day, the wife knows I'm coming home. I don't got to speak to her for half an hour on the way home before I get through the door. So quickly, I'll ring Josh, I'll ring Justin, I'll ring Ben, whoever it be. Yep, how's it all tracking? that's my time to make those phone calls or first thing in the morning. So when you commute, AirPods have been a game changer. I love those things. You can kind of keep working with them in and having a chat. But yeah, the car, and again, it's just there are a lot of hours in a day when you actually break down your hours. You can get a lot done, and that comes back to that whole scheduling thing, which was another big part of what I've introduced into my life over the last couple of years. And yeah, like what you can do is huge if you use your time right.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the first time I had a car that you could, like a car phone, so you could connect your phone to the speakers, and I couldn't believe it how much it was. You can make calls while you're driving.
Yeah, it does. I reckon you can, because you don't want to do it when you get home. Well, you try not to. You do though. So yeah, I just figure, well, you've got time. If you're stuck in traffic, there's no point in being angry at the traffic. You utilize it to your own advantage at the end of the day, or you listen to another podcast or a book or whatever it be. Like, try and just make the most of every hour of the day that you're awake. I think you're going to get further. So, and I think that come off of that, because we've just had a brand new baby, so I drop the other 4 boys to school and pick them up just to help the wife out. So really, I'm left with like a 5.5 hour window of work. But that 5.5 hours is pure work. Like, I know exactly what I'm getting in there to do. So I reckon I'll get just as much done in that time than if I got there at 7:30, talk shit for a little bit. Oh, we'll go get a coffee now. Like, no, I'm there to work and I'm there to go.
Yep.
I actually think that's probably getting just as much work done. And again, just using those hours and on a Sunday afternoon, plan the week as best as possible. And you know what you're doing. You know what you got to order. So, yeah.
Now, what was the most amount of staff you had working for you at one point?
4's as big as I've gone, and it was that's why I tip my cap to. I tip my cap down, like yourself, any business owner, man. It's tough. 4 was just like, here's my wallet, guys. See you later. It was hard work. Like, I find you're just hiring people to get jobs done quicker, but not actually make any more profit.
That's exactly what it feels like.
Being busy. So yeah, it is. Yeah, so I think your 3's a good one. You can kind of break off, come together, and it's a good amount of manpower on a job. But yeah, even I don't mind the physical labour. It's obviously going to catch you at some point, but yeah, that's why I still need Daniel around, and I enjoy. We have really good friends at the end of the day as well. So we have good time at work. He understands a lot of me, likewise, me with him. Strengths, weaknesses. So he's got youth on his side. So do we all, but he's got 10 years prior to me. So I still need that. I know I need that in what we do. But even that, yeah, one's plenty. One's plenty now. I think my days are done. Like I say, full circle to come back here.
Yeah. And going back to what you're doing now with the paving technique. So how would you lay? Like, what do you do to lay?
All right. So, the one we just come off, 20 mil bluestone. So it's all screeded. So sand, cement. We batch everything. Now you did use the drum mixer, the Tyler's one, but I wasn't a fan of how dry it was. I guess I'm just used to wetter. So we actually just mix it in a mixer. So it's not a full slurry. It's a little bit drier. But so literally just screed that out, let it go off. We then waterproof it completely, 2 coats of waterproof, and then tile, just 15 mil notch trowel, and tile our way out. Those clips are fantastic, the Tyler's clips. And so I fought myself, I was like, nah, wet lay, like just, the shovel the mortar, tap it on. So much quicker. This is it. Why are we stuffing around? But I really actually have come to the tiling. You can chalk all your lines before the job. You can work out all your cuts pretty well. You can have the whole job chalked on the ground so you can see it to kind of know where you're going. And I've come around to it now. It's not too bad. So, but yeah, we still do wet lay as well. So,
what determines where you do one or the other?
Thickness of stone variations. So the blue stone was a touch and go one because there was about 4 mil in that. That used up a fair bit of glue actually on that job, because by the time you do lift them up, make it thicker or thinner. So like a lot, porcelain these days is a massive thing. So that'll be tiled no matter what. But honestly, a lot of stone is coming out pretty true now. So we do seem to be doing a lot more of it. Some copings, they're happy for us to just wet lay because there is a price difference to screed a coping and then tile it on, or just to straight wet lay it on. So if they're a drop face, like the mitered rebates, we will always screed them. So it's nicer for the tilers at the end. If they're just a bull nose, we can just wet lay them and then it can be cut off flush. But then also it can come down to what the pool builder specs on waterproofing wise as well. If they want their screed waterproof down into the pool, it's this massive evolution I've felt over the last 5 years of how it's done. And I think marketing to a degree has played a lot of a role into that, and almost knocked out some really good techniques that work. Because I've used glues in the past that have worked with the technique that's worked, and at friends' houses, so I know it works because it's not drumming, it's still solid. To then almost have more issues in these learning processes now. Like I had one the other week because everyone's still scared to talk about their failures, but it happens to absolutely everyone. And you get those callbacks, and that's when your heart drops and shit. But I had one the other week, and I got the calls. They're like, it's squishy. Like the paving has got water coming up through it, through the control joints that hadn't been silicon yet. I was like, sounds funny. So I got there, and you could actually stand on the pavers and they'd squish, and water was coming. Well, they weren't lying. And it was an isolated area that we screeded the whole job, but the concrete had a belly in it. So we used the leveler in over about a 3 square metre section. It was purely isolated to that. The leveler just didn't bond for some reason.
Yeah, right.
We ripped it all up. I went with the right attitude. I could have gone with the wrong attitude and just gone, this is everyone's fault. But I went with the right attitude. We got it up and it was fixed within 6 hours. But it was just like, again, it was like a new product I hadn't used. You read it, and it just didn't work. So I think there's still nuts and bolts still to work out in some of these methods, because obviously we're outdoors, tilers are indoors, so you got different elements straight away. Some people swear by waterproofing their slabs. I'm on the fence with that one. I think it's another layer of sometimes delamination that can occur, or the water can't then penetrate down. It's got to go up, but then we seal the stone. And where's the water go? It's just, sometimes you can get these stuff ups, and it's like it could have been avoided, I reckon, if we didn't use so many materials or products. Or can't we just use glue and sand and cement like we used to?
Yeah, in Queensland, I'm pretty sure the vast majority just tile everything.
Yeah, so that'd be interesting how they go about just their slabs as well from the get-go. Because I've always been, I guess, I don't know how you do it. Like, I'm obviously learning like concrete. I never did a concreting apprenticeship, so you just concrete one day. I've watched enough people do it, we'll do it. So I've always, all right, so we've got to do everything right. Because at this point, I was probably not licensed for it either. So I was like, all right, I'm going to concrete it. I'm going to give it my absolute best, but it wasn't on my draw card though. So plastic, shoes, everything, and then someone, why do you use plastic? And it's, again, I think that one's all right, and then I learned you actually have the steel, it's got to be 20 mil from the top, where I always thought as long as it's in there. They actually say, as long as, when you look into it all a bit more, which I think that's what I do enjoy about this industry. I do enjoy diving in and understanding the rules and the regs about it. So I guess if anything ever turns around, you're able to say, well, A, B, and C, D, we ticked all of them, man. Like, it didn't bond. What can I say? I don't know what to do. We'll get it fixed and move on.
Yeah.
How do you do it? What do you do around, you say, a swimming pool for yourself?
So just everything we do is all sand and cement, just wet laid.
Yeah.
So my boss I was talking about before, he started up in Queensland as well. So we went up there to work for a couple of weeks, and we were paving, and everything was around pool. Everything was tiled on glue, and I'd never done it before.
Yeah.
So
what do you think of it?
Yeah, I liked it, but the reason I've never done it is because we're self-taught concreters as well, so our slabs aren't all that great. It's neat, and I assume it has to be pretty good to be able to tile on it.
That's where you screed it, which is another cost. But this is why it's stuffing our own industry up. So now we're charging to pour concrete, charging to screed it to get it right, charging to waterproof it, the cost of the stone, the cost of the install. And I don't know if you're seeing lately, but in Adelaide, concrete, like home concrete or exposed aggregate around pools. It's becoming the coping and the paving. So in a way, we've knocked ourselves out just purely for all these aspects that we got to charge for to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Like some people, when I'm talking to them about around the pool when they're doing a design, they'll be talking about paving and they'll say, I can do a price for exposed aggregate as well, just to see how that compares. I said, they don't compare at all.
No, they don't.
We're basically going to do an exposed aggregate slab before we pave on top of it, and you got to pay for the pavers and the labour. And yeah, I often look at people in North America like that. They almost never lay wet laid. Everything's all on sand. On sand or on like the breathable drainage layers. What do they call it?
That one.
But and it makes me think, why do we do everything that's like a rigid on a slab?
I think, again, almost an egotistical thing has created this industry as well, to say, he did it like that, but I want to be better, so I'm going to do it like this. And then everyone's almost just goes off against each other to create this. It doesn't need to be done. Whether that's again why I've almost shut my shop down just to work. I'm happy to do what these people tell me to do and install methods, because I almost just can't keep up, and you just feel guilty that you learned something and you're like, but I didn't do that for Janice last week. Is that job going to come back and bite me in the ass?
Yeah.
You're constantly like worried about 2 jobs ago. So I think there's something there that people are almost trying to outdo themselves, and let's use epoxy grout, why? Like this, why? It's just hard work. Yeah. It has an application, it has a purpose for where it's designed, but leave it there. But then someone went, even like with certain brands that are just being very pumped into what we should use, there's just 5 different types of grout you could use, and there's just, when you read the back of them, it's which one's right, which one's wrong, and it's almost just set up for human failure anyway. So, and that's why I think you got to go sometimes tried and tested, and we've just almost gone so far past that now.
Yeah, most people don't use the mix I use either, because I just use brick sand and cement.
Yep,
and that's what I used when I started, and that's what I use now. And other people use washed sand and all sorts of different additives in there.
Well, it's this conversation. I enjoy the conversation, get people's opinions, and not to shut it down. And you've got to learn to just take on if that works for you, keep doing it. Because then I used to do bricky sand and wash sand, so 50-50. Yep. So that's say the brickies gives you a bit of sponge and the wash gives you some grain to it. It worked. Now, because we're screeding, we use a lot of plaster sand, but then they said don't use the red sand because there's too much clay. Use this sand, and it's again what point do you stop? But batching was a huge one for me, though. When I learned, I just kept my buckets by the mixer. You fill the bucket, in you go. Because I had someone show me, and he goes, shovel 4 shovels into like all those buckets, and they were all, one was overflowing, one was a shovel empty, one. And I was like, wow, like it is so inconsistent. Because I had another job like that. You don't have enough cement in your mix, and it's like, well, I've done it how it told me, but then you start to actually, it was a brickie, a good mate of mine is a brickie, and he had all these buckets. So what are they? He goes, no, every mix is the same. So all his pointing's the same for it. And I was like, that makes so much sense. So batching was a huge one I learned to take out of, to get my consistencies. And again, so if anyone ever wants to say, hey, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, I'm able to say, look, I'm very confident in what I've put in that cement mixer is within quarter of a shovel, you know what I mean? Like negligible amounts of difference. So
that way, and no matter who's doing the mix, you're going to get the same result each time.
Exactly.
So it's obviously a lot more important for bricklaying because you're seeing the mortar, but it's still got its place.
Yep.
Because we were working on a job, and the builder got, or one of the other people running the job got a labourer to come in and do the mixes. So we were just laying pavers. And I'm pretty sure he worked as a bricklayer, but sure he couldn't have, because we found out the next day that 4 of the mixes that he didn't have any cement in them. So there was oxide and everything.
Oh, wow.
But so we had to relay. And I asked the guy, I wasn't there when they were getting relayed, but I asked him, how do they know which ones had to come up?
Yeah,
because it's just sand and
it was.
that's
Just
it. Yeah,
right.
it's just
It was
sand.
just
So
sand.
you just tap it and it moves.
Wow. Yeah, I've had a story that someone had a labourer make mud, literally. Like they had the pile of lime and they put the lime in the mixer. That's what they got told to make mud. They did. So yeah, you do got to keep a bit of an eye on them sometimes. But
Yeah, that's crazy. So transferring over to what you're doing a bit more of now with the, I'm just going to find what's the page you've called you just.
Grow. My new
Right.
thing, grow. So backstory on that would then be
Grow Men's Coaching is his Instagram page.
When I guess I shut my business down probably because I don't know really. I do know why in a way. Like I was just in a really bad spot, and I think I was sick and tired of running on the same treadmill, always being a quarter of tax behind, always being the accounts ready to pay again. Just when you paid them, they come through again. Again, I struck up what looked like a pretty good deal on paper to go work with this company. We were already subbing to them, doing their work, so I thought, well, bugger it, let's just go do it. And the amount of detail that they put within their work is phenomenal. But as a subby, you can't make money doing it either. It's like I really appreciated working for that level of they wanted to put into it. But yeah, you couldn't make money. So I think that drove me down because I wanted to be the best. I wanted to be it. I was like, I want to be. And my head was growing, working with these people. Look at these projects we're doing. Oh my God, this is amazing. And it got me into this really shitty place. So we struck up a deal, which I went and worked with them. I thought, beautiful. The first 6 months, and Daniel come with me at that point too. So he's like, yeah, let's do this. So really, I just took my company and just changed T-shirts and gave it me. So 6 months of honeymoon, going, no bass this month, like everything's squared up. How good is this? You know, I had a sick day and I got paid for it, or there was a public holiday and I got paid. Everything's glowing at that point. It's good. 6 months later was, all right, we can really sort of affix some change into this. Like we can grow what he wanted me over here to do. Let's do this. Still with a very business-minded attitude, not a staff. You know, so I would take it almost personally if other staff in the company were dicking around or whatever, you know, like that would, come on, man, come on. And I'd put in 10-hour days to get the job done. I was calling the clients. I was on the phone with the clients still after hours. I was looking at plans. I was doing everything I did. And I was like, all right, let's do this. Still, again, amazing project, still with this big ego. Look at us in Adelaide. We're killing it, mate. Like, and then it just went, nah, we can't change. He's got a path and he's the boss. And that's what I didn't realise at the time. Like, I had to listen to him, and we were very, very, very different people once we started. So if you actually put us together, you go, how did you even get in the same room together? You know, we're very different people. So yeah, and then it was 6 months of the drinking just kicked off. I was already a drinker anyway, but then it just really was just drinking more. Because it was a part of it when we were doing really good. We got to go to work show. Let's drink. Let's be impressive. Let's be the big drinkers. Let's be proud. So it's just this culture more so than I've been a drinker since I was 16 at the pubs, you know, or even younger. But it grew to a point there, and then. So I just ended up quitting. COVID come around, and that obviously started ruffling, and I just went, no, I'm out, I'm done. I made a few phone calls, and everyone said work was booming because I was scared. I was like, who quits a job on good salary in COVID? Like, stupid. But everyone said, nah, man, it's booming. So I had jobs within a week, and I took a week off to get myself what I thought was right. And then, just kept on. So that was, say, like middle of the year, and then kept on just living, feeling better, but not content, you know. Like I was happy I was out of there, but I was just so bitter. I was so down, you know. So I'd go, and we've seen this kinesiologist, so I learned a little bit from her. So she moves your energies. I had no idea. My wife's very into this stuff. And then she follows another lady whose husband is a life coach. And she goes, you should listen to some of his podcasts. Now, they were amazing. Though he was saying stuff, I was like, oh my God, I thought that, like, you know, You go, it's okay to yell at your kids sometimes, like but understand why you're doing it, like bring it back in and think about why, like things like that. And I'm like, God, like why am I yelling at kids? I'm angry at myself, not them. Like, but to hear someone else doing it, again, like with back to paving, to hear that someone else stuffed up, something didn't stick, is going to relieve like pressure. Oh my God, someone else fucked up. Like, so, but it wasn't all about stuffing up. So it was then about getting in tune with yourself. And then he's very spirituality, this bloke, but just my mind then started going there. Then I started listening to more books. Meditation was an interesting part of my last few months at the pool company where I was, because I knew I needed something. I couldn't sleep, so I was putting on meditation at night just to turn off if I wasn't passed out. So that was already in the cogs ticking already. I'm not very good at that meditation, still work in progress, and fuck, you think a lot. But so yeah, so I believe this guy, without even ever really talking to him, just listening to his podcast and that, he helped me so much just by me knowing that there's other men out there. And then from when you know it on the social thing, once you start following something, the bouncing ball goes, oh, there's more, there's more, there's more, there's more. And I had no idea I wanted to do this, but then the more you work on yourself and transform, you just want to share this knowledge. And so it's been about almost 2 years I've been sober now since all of that. And probably about a year now I've been going, I want to do something more. There's something more to this. This industry needs something more. We're all very similar people, I believe. Like we're all different, but we both landscape. We both have a family. Well, do you have a family?
Yep, we've got 3 kids.
Yep. We're both, so there's common links. So I think for us all to be landscapers and enjoy what we do, there's something ticking upstairs that has a common sort of denominator. So I wanted to just come together and start to show people that it is okay to talk about stuff that goes wrong. Like, you don't have to be the big man all the time. And, you know, like I went through some pretty shitty places. I was very lucky that I had a very supportive wife, you know, throughout it. And it never looked at going pear-shaped at the home front. It just was, she was supportive. And, you know, so the coaching is now just something I put out there the other day, and I was like, I really want to do this, and then ding, my phone, oh, you want to do a podcast? Fuck, isn't everything just lining up? Like, I had it and look, I don't know what I'm doing on Instagram. I was just saying that's what I was talking to the wife about before. It's like, it's so B grade right now, but I'm willing just to fail to learn lessons from it, because I just wanted to get it out there, because I knew I had to get it out there for it to start doing something. Exactly what? Like, I want to target, for me, it's small business and new fathers. I really think I've got 5 kids, so I've sort of run that trip a couple of times. You never know everything. I don't have everyone's answers. Hell no. But again, like, I'm able to speak to people and just, they're like, oh, is it always like this with the missus after a kid? And you're like, oh, look, you just make sure you tread carefully. You do this. You just keep showing up, bringing the good energy, whatever it be, just to try and help them. So if I can create, I've got a few grand, I've dreamed big, and then I've brought them all down too. And I want to, because you've got the Landscape Association over there, and we've got master landscapers here. I feel that I've never been a part of it, but I feel that that's almost this, I want to do something similar just for every second month on a Thursday. Go to the park with your family and just, I want to call it like ego at the gate. Like, just come in and just have a bloody talk, bring your kids, kick the footy, cook a barbie, or everyone of a similar interest, just to be able to get around each other, I think. So I've started with a couple of these landscapers. I've started actually catching up with them just for lunch, for coffee, just to make sure they're going all right. Because shit, man, like, I'm cruising at the moment. They're ordering the pavers, they're doing everything. I'm just rocking up and laying it, you know. So they're actually stressed as shit, and I think it's only going to get worse. So just to be able to support people is, you see what I mean? Like, it's very vague, but there's something, and that's what it's about, is just to let people know that you can do it hard, and you are allowed to talk about shit sometimes too. Like, so
yeah, that makes perfect sense. And when I started this podcast, I had a lot of messages about people saying how much they love hearing other people have the same problems that they have. Because sometimes you get caught up in your own thoughts, and you think you're the worst person in the world, and you're the only one making these stupid mistakes. Like, I made a mistake yesterday. I'm doing a job where there's 3 feature rocks in there,
So I was driving around all the landscape supply yards, and I found 2 rocks because I thought there was 2 going in there. So I went and got these rocks, and I had to go and hire a machine to put them in because they were too big, even for me, obviously. But, so I got a machine to put them in, and I nearly got the machine bogged, and ended up, it took me probably 3.5 hours to get these 2 rocks into the place. And then that was yesterday, and I was pretty happy. The second one went in easy. The first one was a nightmare. And one of my guys messaged me today asking me when the 3rd rock's getting there. So I've got to go and find another rock. Same, hire the machine again just to push this rock in. So
yeah, and it's so good to hear that everyone makes these. That everyone is human.
Yeah,
you know? I think that's what it is. Not makes mistakes. Everyone's just human. There's a lot you got a lot going on. You're like, sure, I've got to get home by 2 to do this thing with Mark today, but I'm doing this. It's human as hell. Like, everyone has external factors that, and I think it's a lot about taking out the victimhood mentality and stop blaming everyone else for your downfalls. And I was only just saying to someone the other day that, they'll say, "Oh, I did have a drink. I wasn't going to have a drink, but Dad put a 6-pack in the fridge." I was like, "You drank it." Like, stop always using someone else, or like, you say you want to lose the weight, but the wife left the cake and cookies in front of me, and it's not her fault. You ate it. Like, stop. I stuffed up these squishy pavers. It wasn't the glue's fault. It was my fault. I own it, and that's what I mean. I went to that one with a good attitude. I could have gone there and just teed off. Nah, I want to be paid for this. Blah blah blah, and you take out that victimhood, and all of a sudden, things start to look a bit better, and you learn lessons from downfalls.
So where have you learned that mindset?
A lot of reading or listening, actually. I'm a very slow reader. Yeah, a lot of listening and a few podcasts. Robin Sharma, he was a huge one for me. So he does like fables. So it's like a story around. There's stories, but they've got points the whole way through. So the 5 AM Club was great. The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, Who'll Cry When I'm Dead. But then I've done, he had a online course that I've done as well. And that's all here in front of me in the book, like just writing, journaling, writing. And like I say, once you start getting into those bouncing balls, you're like, oh, this bit. And it's amazing when you start talking to someone, you go, oh, there is a lot of bits here, and just to calm the mind was a big part of sobriety, though. I think that's what helped get me through that a little bit, because I had to, in essence, rewire my brain. Like, that's where I'm at now, is all this neuroscience. There's this new guy, Joe Dispenza, he makes total sense. But
who's that?
Dr. Joe Dispenza. So he's got a couple of books and his TV thing, but it's all neuroscience, rewiring of the brain, and it's stuff I spoke about without even knowing. I used to say to people, I had to do a concrete pour without drinking, because when you pour concrete, you got to get pissed afterwards. So you got to have the beers on ice before the truck gets there. We're concreters today. We've got to play the part. I had to do a Friday afternoon with a client offering me a beer, but saying no. I had to do all these things in my life again. I had to do a hot day, a cold day, a wet day. I had to do everything. 2 years ago, I would have sat here with a red or a gin and thought I was cool. Oh yeah, cool. I'm doing a podcast. I've got to have a drink. That's who I am. That's who I've made myself to be. So I had to rewire my brain into who I actually am. And now I'll easily, I don't even think about sitting at the pub having a beer. I'll sit at the pub and, you know what? Coke's a horrible drink, but I've really fallen to bloody Coca-Cola. I actually like Coca-Cola more than I do my beers. I used to sit around the house with the kids drinking beer. Yeah, look at Dad. But now if I sneak a can of Coke on a Friday afternoon, I'll make sure kids don't see that. It's bad for you, but I need some advice, I think. But yeah, it was just rewiring, doing everything again without what it was, and it's that habit loop.
Yeah, it'd be like I don't drink either, but it's not for any reason. I don't not drink, but I never do.
Yep.
And yeah, it's frustrating the amount of times you see, like, you go somewhere and you got to pay $160 for a ticket because you get free alcohol with it.
Oh, yeah.
But if you don't, they don't give me enough lemon squash to justify the
So
ticket.
annoying paying $5.50 for a soda water.
Yeah, the cost of it is insane. It's similar to a beer these days, a soft drink.
Yeah,
But yeah, and whenever we do a good job, like we will get alcohol from the client.
Yep.
Like
It's
my
a-
two guys drink every now and then, so I'll give it to them. But
Mm.
yeah, it's funny how it's just the mindset of everyone in the country is just if you celebrate something, you need alcohol for it. And you don't realize it until you don't drink alcohol, I don't think.
And I try not to drum down people's necks too much about it. Like I'll kind of sit on the outside and be like, okay, but it was probably the first time I actually did get a little bit about it the other week. We had one of my son's birthdays and family come up and they just brought in some wine and I was like, really? Like, here? Like, I was like, it's okay. I'm not tempted or anything, but like, do you really need it? Like, and I was like, do you want a glass of water first? No, just give me the wine. Okay. But it's like, why do we need this it honestly was just numbing out so much of my life. And that was what I've discovered, that I was doing it as an escape. And I think a lot of people, there's so much to live for. Like to have that take over me. I let it take over me. And so you don't drink, but if someone said, let's have a beer, I don't know if you would, but you'd be able to then not have 10 more afterwards. Like in my heart of hearts, I sort of know that, all right, it's been almost 2 years now. It's a bloody beautiful afternoon. Let's say I've just finished the never-ending renovations at home. I'm going to have a gin and celebrate with the wife. I know next week I'd deliberately do it on the Friday again. Well, I had one last Friday. I'll do it this Friday. And then it wouldn't be an instant marked back on the piss. It would be a 3-4 month evolution. But I guarantee I would almost find myself. And why I still think like that, I just can't see the point of it. But the more further I get away from ever having it, I just think, why would I even want that? Like, it's pretty bad for you once you do start looking into it a bit too. Like, there's not heaps of benefits about it.
And they're only short term anyway.
Yeah, I wake up every day feeling fresh now, and you'll go do a piss in the morning, and it's like, you get flashbacks to just leaning on it, just like, how am I going to cope today? So that there is. I was lucky my life stopped at booze. Really, like I didn't start to get into any other sort of substances. I'm happy I managed to realize where it was going so bad and get out. And I guess that's another part of this growth. I can sort of show people that you can change. I think people are just so scared of change. Like, again, a conversation I was having with the wife before, because this growth thing, like I said, I'm not sure. I want this to be very successful, and I've manifested some great things for it. But at the moment, I just had to put it out there, and I don't want to be scared of success, because this is going to mean more work for me. Because I think some people are scared of success because it means change. So, like, you want to accelerate your business to the next level, and then all of a sudden it starts working. It's, oh shit, no, that's hard work. That means change. So you back down. So I just threw this out there the other day and went, well, let's do it. Like I'm got every bit of energy. I'm ready to go these days. It's you fired up.
Have you had anyone? Because I heard you had a great podcast that you did with Clint Adams from Water Pro on the full landscape. So have you had anyone reach out to you because they needed help? They wanted help to quit?
After that was amazing. Like, oh my God, I didn't, nothing against Clint, but I didn't know how many people watched it. And then the vast audience of people that knew me, there was a couple of ones I didn't, but people that I'd met throughout life that reached out just to say well done, or reached out to say, hey, love some tips. What do you got? And then reached out, hey, can I help? Like, there was what I was like, oh wow. And I guess that was another part to go, all right, here we go. There's something here. But unfortunately, through the middle of the year, I think InStyle work really took traction again and started to take over. And it was only been in the last 2 months again where I've got to do this. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. I guess it's just that realization of what's taking place, and it's hard work. Running a business at the best of time, let alone with the family, then a newborn, we're renovating, and I'll throw this thing in. And the wife, she's just put it on pause, but she's doing the kinesiology, but she's like a certified life coach. So I think she's now listening to me say all this, I told you all this shit a few years ago. Like, and I'm all excited. Oh, I love, let's do this. And she goes, yeah, told you this shit. Like, but so she's doing the kinesiology. And I think together, I honestly think there's something just so much more out there, because she's always enjoyed working with like new mums that, you know, again, the 5, but even on the 5th, she'll sit there and what'd she say? She goes, some days I'm killing it. Other days I'm a click and collect barefoot smelling like bloody baby spew, you know, like, and it's so true, but it's just that vulnerability and honesty I think people seek. And that's where I think there's a lot around that. So I think if we can line our eggs up to have it all work as one, like, I've always wanted, I think I said on Clint's, like, I want a garden. I want to be able to run it all in a garden, like a beautiful, sustainable veggie patch. Like I say, there's some big visions that I want, and they'll come. The stars will line up one day. Like, it's, yeah, if I can have that so people can come and just feel connected for 5 minutes, I think.
So your plan with that is so you'll have a property somewhere, and if someone wants to have some coaching, they'll come out to you, and you'll be like working with them for a little bit while you're talking, and then that sort of thing, is it?
I think that's how I guess, and each one would be dependent, but that would be my ideal situation. Come out, let's pick some bloody carrots if they're ready to pick, or I was just putting some straw over here. Can you give us a hand? Whatever it be, for say half hour, just to a very relaxed introduction, instead of, you know, boom, boom, hi,
Sit on the couch,
you know, and it's almost daunting. So if you can relax it in, I think, and then, you know, in my visions, you know, I've got a bloody fire burning with a pot of tea on it. Have a cuppa, set some new goals, reassess, reevaluate, pivot, whatever it takes. Leave them with an uplifted sort of spirit and say, let's go. We'll see you next week for another session, or whatever it be. Group sessions, I think, would be good, just so all men can realise they're not alone. And I think I personally think group sessions will be, for men, a bigger thing, because a man to seek out another man for help still seems like a stigma around it. Where if they can go, oh, my buddy's coming, and, you know, let's go here, I heard about this, let's go as a group. And you're kind of still hiding behind the person sitting next to you, but in an environment to open up, I think would. I actually watched a really cool doco on ABC about Parkway Drive, a band, an Australian band, and that's very similar sort of thing that happened to them. They were all fighting, they sat around, they spoke, opened up, and it was the best thing they've ever done. Yeah, we'll just see. Honestly, it's a watch this space. I don't think I want to deal directly with sobriety from alcohol, but if that's a part of it, I think, again, I don't want to be the landscaper doing absolutely everything either. I do got to have some sort of target audience, because otherwise and that's what I totally understand on this grow page at the moment. Wife's like, what are you doing there? You're just putting up quotes, and there's nothing to buy. There's nothing to look into. And like I say, I probably launched it all way too soon, because I don't have the website done yet. I haven't finished writing the 12-week program. I haven't got those click buttons on there, and I know that, but I just wanted to get it out there, and we'll just see what grows from it, I think.
Well, it's just a different way of doing, like what a lot of other businesses do is they'll start the page and they'll say, yeah, exciting things coming, or follow to see what's around the corner, or guess who's going to be here. Rubbish.
I just need a landing page or something at the moment, and just be able to have that. And then I was writing it last night, and I've actually made my own weekly schedule. I'm not very good with computers, so I was using Excel, man. And if there was a few heated moments, I had to learn what lessons were coming at me from. I was like, what is going on here? Headers and footers and all sorts. But I want to be able to, things that have really helped me, and I want to be able to give back. So let's say it was a 12-week program. Yeah, Joel, let's do this. Well, I'll send you through the email with everything in it now. So you will have access to the planner. You will have access to the formulas of success, or however you want to word it. And then, you know, whether they're Zoom or one-on-one meetings, however they go, then we can step through and work through, just to hopefully get the best out of, because everyone's got so much in them. That's what I find hard now, looking at people going, man, come on, let's lift our game. You've done this, and that would have taken guts to do the first one. What do I do? But you've done it now. And away it goes. I think you've done very good for a lot of people, because a few people, before, I haven't told anyone we're on here, but are like, oh no, I love listening. There's this one from Melbourne, Joel, he does it, and so a few people like it's spoken about, and people enjoy it. So
I
it's
get
good.
offended when people say I'm from Melbourne.
What's Victoria?
Geelong.
Geelong.
Yeah.
Are you a Cats man?
No, it's even worse.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, Joel from Geelong then, but yeah, it's so. Again, you're just helping connect people. I think it's all a part of it. There's something there that I just think we've almost grown away from connection, especially with devices, I think, which is strange to say. I'm sitting here on a computer connecting to you. So it's helped bring people so much closer, yet taken people further away. Might be a way to look at it, I think, but I don't know. Another way I've had it worked out once was we got a lot of old Englishy bungalow, whatever they are, sort of houses, and near the in-laws, where you got the front porch with the chair on it. People always used to sit on the front porch with like a picket fence so they could wave to people and speak to their neighbours. And then it's all about who's got the biggest backyard because I don't want to see my neighbours.
Putting up big screens.
Yeah, and big fence. I don't want to see you. So you kind of don't speak to them. So I don't know if we can bring some connection and let blokes know. And, I guess another huge part, which thank Christ it's never affected me personally. Like I've never had a mate die of suicide near me, and I don't want to either. If one person didn't because of me, I'd get job done. That's all it takes. Because the more you look into it, it's like, holy shit, man. Like the study on men, or not study, the facts on men and how they go about it is atrocious. It's atrocious how we can let it happen. So I think if it can help one person, then it's done its job too. So I guess that's a whole another way it could go, which I like I say, let's watch this space. But if just can help someone, I guess would be the best way. Share some knowledge.
Well, it's awesome that you're doing it and that like something that you enjoy doing and other people benefit out of it as well. If you can do something that you enjoy doing and you're helping other people, then that's a pretty nice thing to be able to do.
Well, I think you end up in more of a flow state of life at all times. Like, and I do enjoy landscaping work. I do love that. But yeah, if I can advance and move on, and like I say, incorporate the both of them, because that was another angle at one point I looked at. Like, if I could just build sustainable gardens for people, like if they could come to mine, see it, love it, I could then build a garden for them, build the hardscapes and leave it for them to tend. So then they can have their own place of peace, There's so many different ways, and it's just a matter of niching it in. And so that was sort of the InStyle and the grow together to be able to come together and, 1 + 1 = 3 sort of thing. So honestly, it's put out there and we're just going to see what comes of it. And I'll keep working on it. I'll try and improve my content and get myself a few pages, but yeah.
Well, I think what you're doing already is good because you're just getting on there yourself and being yourself, and so there's no point in being someone else.
But you film yourself a lot. I'm trying to work out how to make videos. Like I'll do it. You get like 35 seconds and you stuff a word. Start again. I'm always walking the dog when I'm doing it too. I'm up a hill. It is, and it gets me out. It's good fun, but it makes me more accountable to my life too. It makes me now go, well, Mark, you're preaching it. You got to. Now I can't slip either. So, it's good fun. It's good fun.
Yeah, well, like the proof is in the pudding that when you did Clint's podcast, I think you were just about a year sober, and that was nearly a year ago, and you're still sober. So it's awesome to see that you're still doing that.
Yeah. No, and that was really good too. And again, that was just the stars aligned, and that was at the start of the year. Yeah, that was the start of this year. So so almost 2 years, not quite, but close enough. And it was that again kept me accountable. But the feedback we got from that was just amazing to actually. So many people I think want to stop, but they're just stuck in our way of life. It's because you get people reaching out. I need to take a leaf out of your book. So do it.
How did you do it?
What's stopping you? And that many people go, oh man, I lost all day Sunday. Oh, I need to take a leaf out of your book. Again, it's like, what's stopping you? Come on, like I'm not special for doing it. Like let's have a little look in, and you try and speak to them about it, but they divert back, and you can't. force anyone to do it. They have to want to do it. No one's going to get sober I'm not going to get sober for my wife. I'm not going to get sober for the business, my kids. I'm going to get sober for me. Like, at the end of the day, they'll come, and I think there's just so much more to give out of life than be hungover and pissed all the time.
That's why I don't drink, is because I'm too busy enough to have a day that I ruin where I feel like crap the whole day. So.
Yeah. You enjoy being busy?
I enjoyed it. I'm happy either way. I could be happy retired. I could do nothing and be happy.
Yeah.
I like being busy. I hate fixing other people's mistakes. That's what I'm doing a lot at the moment.
Okay.
Today especially. So that's why.
It was your own mistake, wasn't it? Forgetting the rock.
That's tomorrow. I'll be fixing that. Today was other people's, but then that's something that makes me not get angry at other people, because like I was angry today because there's multiple things that people are doing wrong.
Yeah.
And then I've done one as well. So yeah, I'm no different to everyone else. So you can't get upset at other people when you're there exactly the same, making the same mistakes. So that's something that I need to, realign every now and then. Just realize I'm no different to.
It's awareness, isn't it? That's all it is, awareness. If you're aware of it, then you can pull it back in. It doesn't mean you're perfect every single minute of the day. It's just you're aware of it, and you're exactly that. You line it back up. So, because you guys are then as busy as we are over here. Like, the industry is just ridiculous. But
yeah, we were before COVID started, and then COVID just made it even worse. So it's been like flat out for it feels like 3 years.
Yeah.
So
I was talking to someone last week or the week before about it. I'm actually almost worried for these people, like, come this Christmas, because it's still raining. Like, it's still raining there. And we had last week, I don't think it rained last week, and everyone was stressed. It was like every client just forgot that it's rained for the last 8 months. We've had COVID, and it's sunny now. Where are you? Like, and I think the stresses are just going to hit even harder come into Christmas. And that's what I mean. If I can help relieve some of that tension from people, I know you can't do it completely, but they just take a little tool here or there just to go, oh, well, like I said, right at the start, communication, just, whether it's that, no, we're not getting your job done, or whatever it be. If you can help share some, like what your podcast does, because you've done quite a few. I was going through them bloody last night. I was a bit nervous coming today. The butterflies were going. But yeah, if you can share something like you do every week, or however often you do it, I think that's good. That's of value. That's job done.
And luckily, there's people like you who come on, because I've listened to other podcasts where the host just talks to himself on some episodes. No way I could do that.
Yeah, you've actually let me talk. I feel like I've spoken way too much.
No, that's exactly what I'm here for. I just ask a 5-word question and you talk for 5 minutes. That's what my goal is.
You've worked that out well then, haven't you? No, that's yeah. Well, cool.
So what about some podcast recommendations or book recommendations that you?
Hamish Kramer is the Manfulness Men. That's the bloke in Melbourne that was really good. So his podcast was that one I was talking about before. I think he's a bit on hiatus, but they're all still there. Books. There's heaps. Like I say, Robin Sharma was amazing. Joe Dispenza, he got into quantum physics in like the first page. I was like, what is this about? But by the end, you actually understand it. Holy wow. And so that's now where I've gone, is more that neuroscience line to work out your brain and understanding of that. So what have we got here? Just David Goggins. He was huge at the start. He's a monster. Motivation, he kept me going. Just knowing that he would yell at me if I didn't. Geez, listen to another. I like to listen to him again. It's amazing when you listen to him for the second time and the third, what you pick up.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same with this podcast. So while I'm doing it, I'm listening to what you're saying, but I'm also thinking of the next question.
Yeah.
In real life, I'm listening to it, and then when I edit it, I'll listen to it all again. But then I listen back to it as a podcast, and I hear things that I don't remember being said, even though I've listened to it twice.
And then it's where your mind is at that time too. So like I'll go back to say this David Goggins, and I'll remember certain things about, oh wow, his life and all this, and you hear the story, and then I'll spend another 3-4 months listening to whatever all these other ones are here. And then you go back and listen to it again. You're like, oh, wow, he's actually talking about, I don't know, health mindsets and mindset. And then another 3 months, and he's actually, he dives into the neuroscience in it, which you never heard those words the first time, but now you pick up. It's like when I bought, it's NLP. Sorry, that's another one. So it's not a book or it's not a podcast. So I did an NLP course.
What does that stand for?
Game changer. Neuro-linguistic programming. So it's a really shit name for just, it's long and sounds intense, but it is understanding why we say what we say, we do what we do, like the understanding of the brain, really. And wow, so that was part to do with coaching and getting started as well. And that there changed the game on, like so much. We kept saying the whole way through, why aren't kids taught this stuff? Like, why have we never known about this stuff? It's, just, it would be like you can get the grasp of someone through their tone. Like, so you can actually learn to sense people and how a conversation's going, up, down, sideways. Then you learn things like eye patterns. So I know if you're upright, I think it's that. So, you're remembering, and then middle is you're remembering a sound. This is you're making something up. You're making a sound. So if I said, oh, what did your teacher look like in a green dress? You'd go like that because you have to make it up. But, what did that rock look like you put in yesterday? You'd remember it. So you start to, and this is stuff that happens all the time. This is our brain that's programmed like this. And so then people talk either kinesthetic or that's, feelings, or auditory people or visual people. So even this helped with jobs. You listen to the words they use. So first say, oh, I see what you're saying. So you go, okay, so you're a visual, you're using sight words. Or I hear what you're saying. Okay, so you change the words and you become very articulate. Or if, I don't quite feel it. And so you have to talk about the plant's textures and the shapes it's going to be and talk slowly for those people. And I noticed this when I was quoting a few jobs. I was, holy moly, this is real, this stuff. And then it goes into why we think, how we like subconscious, and so that there really, really got me thinking just how amazing we are as humans. Like, Jesus, like this is just stuff that's there all the time. That wasn't a book. That was a course I did, but I think everyone should do it. That was just the beginners. I'll do the masters next year, which apparently they just dive deep into it. Because I was honestly sitting there and he was saying words and I was just like, no idea. Congruent. Do you know what congruent means?
No.
That's if I got it right.
No.
It's in alignment. So, his actions weren't congruent to what he was saying. He'd talk, okay, now if the congruency is this and that, I'm stuck on congruency, and he's 5 minutes later still talking. I'm still Googling what congruent meant. But there was these words, I was like, oh my God. And he kept saying to me, the coach, he kept saying, the penny will drop. Stop worrying. Because there was a group of us in the class. He just kept saying, stop, it will drop. And come the last sort of second, third day, it all made sense. And now these books make sense to that because it's just all about the brain patterns. And then again, like that, like I say, having to do all these things, concrete pours again, drinking with customers, and it is rewiring your brain in essence to reprogram it. So we can change, and people get scared that we can't. Like, oh no, this is what Dad told me. This is what we got to do. That's it. And that's that again. I guess that gave a whole nother element of excitement to it as well. But I'm trying to find some other good books here.
Yeah, I reckon I would love doing that because I hated school with a passion, but I did psychology in year 11 and 12.
Yeah, okay.
I love, just how people think.
It's quite an interesting thing, isn't it? So, and I think, I guess off of that, kinesiology is to do with the body's energies and then lining all of that up. And it all sounds like this spiritual mumbo jumbo, but then you keep looking and you're like, holy shit, there's something here. And so the wife doing a lot of kinesiology is then it's all about, just how we think and we present ourselves, and just moving that energy. And I believe you can, like once you start to get somewhat in tune with it and understand it, you can pick someone without even saying a word. And that was an NLP thing. Someone said, 100 words before they've opened their mouth. Like, you can tell by the way they're looking at you, their posture. You know, you're down like this or you're up and about. You know, you can tell so much before they even open their mouth. And I think there's a lot in that to do with the energy and someone's presence. You can always feel heavy, and that happened in our house too with the kids. Like, if it was dark in a way, you know, it was always, we tried making it happy. I was present, I was here. But, you know, when you're constantly drunk or, you know, you're just not there. I was at work. And then all of a sudden the house is just lighter and a better place to be. So, don't know what that question was you asked, but that was a good one.
I like it. It's a good answer. And the last question I've got for you is, who do you reckon would be a good guest to have on this podcast?
Oh, wow. Well, you've had me. I'll go with a good mate, another landscaper in Adelaide, is Justin. So he's got Habitat Landscaping.
Yep.
Now we talk a lot. He's one of my ones we catch up with for lunch and that. He's had quite an interesting background and story, and I think we share similar views and values, and he's got more guys than me, so he's got other stresses. He'd be a good chat.
Yeah, I think I follow them as well. So
yeah,
nice,
I think, I don't know, Mick Fanning. Try.
Well, I'm sure he's got some
Reach for
landscaping.
the stars. Go, I shouldn't have. You know, sorry, Justin. I shouldn't have played small, but we could have reached for the stars there. Donald Trump, go big.
He did have a one of his press conferences at a landscaping yard back in the day. Yeah. 4 seasons landscaping.
You know, Paris Hilton. No, Britney Spears. She's been getting active again lately.
Yes. You have to change the rating on the.
Yeah, you might. You need a couple of blurry spots. I mean, if you try to reach out to Justin and see what he says, you might get an interesting chat out of him as well. Like I say, give everyone a chance.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. Can't thank you enough for coming on, Mark. I was really looking forward to this, and this is the first time we've chatted, and I can see that your business could be successful because you're very relatable. So, and I think that's pretty important for someone wanting to do what you're doing. So, I wish you all the best of luck with it.
Thank you very much. And honestly, I appreciate what you do, because I think this is a great platform for a lot of people. So, excellent.